Well, here we are. We are well into Black Ops 6. I have actually a total of, as I'm showing my Prestige 1 stats, I have a total of like 28 hours played so far. So Prestige 1, getting close to Prestiging again. And so I wanted to kind of give feedback, and I'm aiming this at kind of the perspective of the folks that have not bought the game, that are waiting for the integration, their Warzone mains. And they have not kind of ventured into this world. And I know there's a lot of people that are a little concerned about it. So, from the point of view of somebody who would be a casual player who's kind of playing at that level, I wanted to just kind of give some thoughts and some feedback based on kind of my experience playing the game so far. And as long as everything moves to Warzone as we experience it here, I think it's going to be overall a net positive for Warzone. It's going to solve a lot of the problems that I think we've had lately with how Warzone feels and how the movement feels, and really kind of improve the Warzone experience overall. So, first of all, the aim assist change has been a net positive for, I think, all skill levels. So the high skilled players will obviously continue to be very well skilled. Most of the really high skilled players, they don't need to actually have aim assist to be accurate, to be good. They're naturally good at it. They aim train, they do all the things. And especially mouse and key players, they know that very well. That it's not required. Aim assist does help, and when you learn to use aim assist properly, it's a big boost for most people, most highly skilled players, and they can be very accurate with it. I think the vast majority of players, there's kind of two tiers, right? The lower skill players, they don't really have a mastery of aim assist. So when aim assist does take over, it's kind of almost by accident. Most people are overreactive; they over aim, and so they actually break their aim assist pretty frequently in a gunfight, and that causes them to lose, especially against a slightly higher skilled player who does have some mastery of aim assist and does know when and how to let the aim assist take the wheel. And I think the way that this game is structured, and there are still some aspects of it that haven't been fully investigated, but I have very clearly noticed that there is a lot more actions that break aim assist. Prior to modern Black Ops 6, the only action that you could take as a player to break aim assist is drop shotting. Is the only action that did not that the aim assist wouldn't track for you. So even a moderately skilled player would benefit from it and would get the kill on you. If you were not that skilled at it. So the frequency with which a player can break the aim lock, can break aim assist, with the movement that's available to us is significantly higher, which leads to a lot of survivability. And so gunfights are, for lack of a better phrase, they're a lot sloppier in most cases. And I think for most people, they experience this. And so for the lower skilled players, you're actually, I don't think they are losing more gunfights than they were before. But they are definitely surviving longer in them and and they're able to actually to get kills, I think, a little bit more readily. Especially since, when you have a slight skill mismatch, they aren't being decimated quite as well or as handedly, because the aim assist is easier to break. And that is kind of opens the door to the conversation about movement. The movement is phenomenal, I think. It is easy to learn. It is, the basics of it are not very difficult to understand. You can become very adept at incorporating it into your gunfights, and into your standard gameplay, especially if you have a higher end controller, something with paddles, or you play on bumper jumper or something like that. And you can take advantage of it very quickly without having to go through a learning process, right? Slide cancel, for example, used to be, it was a 3-button combination with timing that you had to practice and learn. Omni movement, you can slide cancel with one button. You just push it and push it again when you see fit. And so, obviously there's a skill gap in becoming an expert at it, but even a lower skilled player can, and often I have seen, use Omni movement in their gunfights, just because it's available to them. And I think that is something that is that Treyarch needs to be commended on bringing movement into a bringing movement to the masses is the way to put it. Right? Treyarch has done an excellent job with the movement. It's very easy to learn. It's hard to master, so there's a skill gap in it. But I don't think that most players will suffer from not having movement. And as someone who is grinding camos and focusing on headshots, I'm not utilizing movement for the most of my engagements because I need to aim. I need those headshots, and so I'm actually playing very bot-like in how I approach the game. And I am finding, gunfights are easy to win in some cases, but in cases where people do put on even a little bit of movement, the aim assist does break, and it becomes more difficult for me to win those gunfights, which is a good thing at the end of the day. It's a very good thing that basic movement actions are disruptive to aim assist. And I think that's a huge W. And the movement itself is, again, a huge W. Um, and, we haven't really seen a lot of the Omni movement kind of being taken to the extremes. We've all seen clips of it, but it's not something that I think most people see in their everyday games, especially with the way the game, with the way that SBMM works. I think the vast majority of players just don't run into the incredibly crazy movement that we were all, kind of expecting on this. So, good job balancing that, I think, very well, Treyarch. So well done on that. The last thing that I think is accessible to players that aren't going to play Black Ops 6 multiplayer is the Prestige. I was very skeptical that you could do a Prestige mode that would be fun and rewarding and still be enjoyable and like for grinders. And I think that Treyarch's approach to balancing how to work weapons, unlocks, DLC guns, blueprints, with the act of prestiging is ultimately going to be a W across the board, especially for players that are not are not grinding multiplayer, that have limited play hours. So your typical casual-esque player, right? If you want to jump on that term in terms of like play hours, right? So somebody who would not normally think about prestiging, with blueprints available, with a lot of the tools that they have available to stick with guns and to be able to use weapons that they have unlocked earlier than perhaps they'd expect, I think is going to be a W, right? So I think their approach balances the challenge of prestiging and the challenges that come with it, with kind of with the rewards of doing a prestige, right? So you prestige, you lose your perks, you lose there's a lot of stuff that you don't have access to for a while, but you get, you're not stuck with, the starter pistol for the, for the first couple of levels, right? It's not as bad of, it doesn't feel like the kind of reset that we had in, say, COD 4 or Black Ops 1, where prestiging really felt like it put you at a significant disadvantage for a long period of time. So overall, I think they did a very good job of planning that system out and implementing it. As long as all of these systems port over to Warzone next week, I think we're going to see a really, really happy Warzone player base once you get through the initial kind of shock and learning curve that the game, that these elements are going to bring to the game. I think we're going to see generally a positive response. So those are my early thoughts on this after putting significant time into the game. And I think overall, again, Treyarch W, Black Ops 6 continues to surprise and continues to excel in a lot of ways the last two games did not. So that's what I have for you. If you have any thoughts, obviously drop them in the comments below. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one.